Are you saying, though, that if somebody in their culture who lives here in the UK, who might be a British citizen, who answered the door to you and said, I won't speak to you, I'd like you to speak to my husband instead, are you saying, you have said their culture is less valid, are you saying that people with those beliefs shouldn't be welcome in the UK?
I am saying that if we want to have a well-integrated society, we need to make sure that we have a shared culture and a shared identity. This is a multi-ethnic society. That's obvious. I'm a black woman sitting here talking to you. But there is a difference between being multi-ethnic and being multicultural.
What's up, beautiful people of YouTube? Hope you guys are feeling good. My name is Elario, your host, and today I'm back with another video and check out with you guys. This is called BBC host goes quiet as a question for conservative backfires. You know the drill, guys. We talk less and we react more. Let's check this out.
You've written this morning about immigration, and you write that we cannot assume that all cultures are equally valid. So which cultures, in your view, are less valid than others?
Oh, lots. Cultures that believe in child marriage, for instance, or that women don't have equal rights. I actually think it's extraordinary that people think that's an unusual or controversial thing to say. Of course, not all cultures are equally valid. I don't believe in cultural relativism. I believe in Western values, the principles which have made this country great. And I think that we need to make sure that we continue to abide by those principles to keep the society that we have now.
So which particular cultures then would you say are less valid? Because as you've said, your words, not mine, some people think that that is a controversial thing to say. So which cultures would you specifically say are less valid than others?
So it's not about labeling cultures. Culture includes a lot of things. I'm not talking about cuisine, I'm talking about customs. And I think that cultures where women are told that they should not work, I would knock on doors. I'm sure Penny and Jake had this. You'd knock on doors and you'd see somebody at the door who says, oh, I can't speak to you, I will get my husband. I don't think that's as equally valid as our culture. But the point I was making in the op-ed was about immigration, that immigration is something which we need to make sure we get right. We didn't before. And there were three things I said we needed to do. One, numbers matter. I was quite surprised that Rob actually misrepresented what I've been saying. Numbers do matter. Culture matters even more. Who comes into the country is absolutely critical. And leadership. You need to start from the top. It's no good simply saying we're going to lower immigration and outsource it. It has to come very much from the Prime Minister himself or herself.
Are you saying, though, that if somebody in their culture who lives here in the UK, who might be a British citizen, who answered the door to you and said, I won't speak to you, I'd like you to speak to my husband instead, are you saying, you have said their culture is less valid, are you saying that people with those beliefs shouldn't be welcome in the UK?
I am saying that if we want to have a well-integrated society, we need to make sure that we have a shared culture and a shared identity. This is a multi-ethnic society. That's obvious. I'm a black woman sitting here talking to you. But there is a difference between being multi-ethnic and being multicultural. I grew up in a place that was multicultural, and yet everybody looked the same. Conflict arises when you emphasize difference. We need to emphasize the thing that we share. Being British, British values, the things that we talked about, freedom, equal rights, personal responsibility, not discriminating people because of their sexual orientation. There are some cultures that do that. I don't think that a culture that thinks gay people should be stoned is as valid as ours. This is not a controversial thing to say.
But aren't you, by making this point, which people will judge for themselves, they will maybe, I'm sure many people will be interested to hear what you say, aren't you, in fact, emphasising difference by making this point? You are saying that if somebody lives in this country already, they answered the door to you here, and they said, I'd rather you spoke to my husband, you are judging their culture to be less valid than your own. You are emphasising that difference.
What are you suggesting that politicians should do in that case then? That we should just accept everything, that everything is fine, and that we should not comment on what kind of social relations we should have? I don't think that's right. It is our job to make sure that the people who come into the country are people who love this country, who want it to succeed. And I want this country's culture to stay the same. I left another country and came here because I thought it was better. I don't want this place to turn into the place that I was running away from.
Okay, that was a bit educative. But then if I'm to look at it from her standpoint, she says not every culture is as valid as others. Well, that's a rather bold thing to say. And yes, in the world we live in, Just as the host said, it's gonna bring up a lot of controversies. But then looking at what she means, you know, as she put it, the UK is multi-ethnic. There are a lot of people from different races there. But what she's vying for, what she's fighting for is the fact that for the fact that the immigrants are in the UK, then they should adopt the British culture. That's simply what she's trying to say. And she gave instances where she doesn't believe that these other cultures are moving in sync with the British culture. And uses herself as an example. She ran away from a multicultural country and she came to the UK because she felt it was better. Well, I can't say I quite agree with her on everything, but I do think she has a point there. By the time a lot of cultures are integrated into one place, then, as she rightly said, you'd see a lot of conflict because even though it's the same country, you can't do some certain things in this part because they belong to this particular culture. And you can't do some certain things in this part because you belong to another culture. And it can really cause a lot of conflict, violence even. Because every culture has different views. What might apply or appeal to you or your culture may not appeal to the next person's culture. So there will be a lot of clashes. But the thing is, what she's pushing for is easier said than done because no one actually wants to let go of their fundamentals, their foundations, what they grew up with. No one will actually want to let go of that. But anyway, guys, tell us what you think about this video in the comment section. And please, don't forget to leave a thumbs up at the end of this video. If you're just joining us for the first time, please remember to click that bell button to be notified when we drop a new video. And of course, subscribe to follow us for more updates. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe.